Right, transfers now, and a market that is really beginning to stir with the season's end on the horizon. Of course, don't forget, the first transfer window is going to open early and run between Sunday the 1st of June and Tuesday the 10th of June. Joining us now is our chief reporter, Kaveh Solkan. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do for deadline day, maybe deadline day chapter 1 when that ends.
Yeah, there could be 2 deadline days.
Absolutely, I think that's what we're going to do. But anyway, getting distracted. Let's start with Dean Huijsen, because arguably he's very much a man in demand at the moment, isn't he?
Definitely. I mean, he's got the world at his feet. He's had an incredible first season in the Premier League at Bournemouth. And basically, clubs are queuing up to try to sign him because he's got this release clause in his contract of around £50 million. Now, Premier League clubs are interested in signing him, include Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, Newcastle. But he's also got big European clubs after him. Our colleagues at Sky Germany saying that Bayern Munich are looking for a new centre-back, and he's a player they're definitely interested in signing. And there's also potential interest from Real Madrid. Now, interestingly, I think if Real Madrid were to make a firm offer to sign him, he would choose to go to Real Madrid. But I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. We've got to wait until he's finished the season playing with Bournemouth, and then let's see if anybody does actually trigger that release clause. I think it's looking very likely that at least one club will.
From Bournemouth to Real Madrid, that would be quite the story, wouldn't it? What's the latest on Manchester United? Because obviously they need a striker, and what's the situation there with Marcus Rashford and others?
Well, I think United are looking at signing a number 9 and a number 10. We know that they're very interested in Matheus Cunha at Wolves. They're also very interested in Liam Delap at Ipswich Town. Now, the situation with Cunha is there have been some reports today in the Brazilian media that this is almost a done deal. Now, I don't think that is the case. We know he has a release clause in his contract of just under £65 million. Now, I believe that United are prepared to trigger that release clause, but that hasn't been done yet. So I think maybe, I don't want to rubbish reports that other journalists have come up with in Brazil. I'm sure they have very good sources, but my information at the moment is it's not as advanced that far. But it'd be no surprise if he ended up being a Manchester United player, because we know United want to sign him, and I also know for a fact that he wants to play for Manchester United if he leaves Wolves. I know United are not in particularly great form at the moment. They're level on points with Wolves in the Premier League, but he does see them still as one of the biggest clubs in the world. Liam Delap, I think he'll be a bit more complicated because he's got this release clause in his contract if Ipswich are relegated of £30 million. Lots of clubs interested in him as well. For instance, Chelsea seriously considering whether to try and trigger that release clause. He's one of their top targets. United, just in the last hour, I think Luke Edwards in the Daily Telegraph saying that Newcastle United were looking very closely at him as well. So I think in an ideal world, United would want to sign those two players as quickly as possible once the season has ended. But I think it will be a little bit more complicated with Delap than it would be with Cunha.
And I mean, I know I mentioned Marcus Rashford, and you might not want to talk about it right now, but I was just saying, because yesterday we were saying that there's a possibility that he could still stay at Manchester United, so that would kind of...
Well, look, he's got a contract at Manchester United. I think the issue with him and Manchester United is his relationship with Ruben Amorim, also the size of his wages. But he's done very well at Aston Villa. I'm sure there'll be lots of interest in him this summer. The most important thing for him at the moment is to finish the season with Aston Villa and try and win the FA Cup and qualify for the Champions League as well.
And then he might stay there for Champions League football. All right, what about Kevin De Bruyne? We know he's going from Manchester City. Is there a chance that he's going to stay in the Premier League? Could he play for another Premier League team?
I think he definitely could. I mean, I think Kevin De Bruyne is somebody who's never been motivated by money. If it was all about money, I'm sure he'd go to Saudi Arabia. But I think he's proved throughout his career that his main motivation, his focus has been on playing at the highest level possible. And I still think he feels that he can play at the very, very top level in European football. So I think Saudi Arabia, MLS, maybe further on down, somewhere in the distance in his career, I would not be surprised at all if he signed for a big club in the Premier League or a big European club, maybe in Italy, Spain, France, Germany, who knows?
It'd have to be a Champions League playing team, wouldn't it? You'd think.
You would think with, you know, as good as he is. I think what was really interesting in the interviews he's given recently was that he felt that if Manchester City hadn't had such a poor season, he feels that he would have got a new contract at City. So he thinks that he's almost paid the price for the fact that Manchester City haven't hit the levels that we're used to them hitting this season. So I think internally he himself feels that he still has a lot to offer. And why not? Champions League, I think he's certainly good enough.